Hey there, what's going on? Ryan here, setthepacetriathlon.com. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at, whenever you're watching this. Hopefully this is finding you doing well in your training and getting ready for, see in the background, 70.3 Des Moines. And I'm going to use this time to talk about what you should be doing with your training at this point in time. A lot of people have questions. Usually it gets sooner, closer to the race date, but people are always like, how much should I be doing? What's your volume? What are you doing on the long rides and long runs for the weekend? So I'm making kind of a series of videos. I'm doing 70.3 Des Moines 2025. I've done it twice, the half, one time as a full. And I've gotten a pretty good handle on the event, the venue, and all that kind of fun stuff. So I wanted to do a deep dive into this race specifically, kind of help anybody out that's got questions about the race and if they want to maybe do better than the years past. And to do that, you need to make sure you have a good training plan on you. So let's just jump right into it. So the time of this recording, we are the week after Thanksgiving. So hopefully you have built up enough carb stores from Thanksgiving to carry over into the next week to really hit that training in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, because as we all know, things are ramping up. It's getting colder outside. And once Christmas hits, it's kind of the last thing you want to do is try to wedge in there, some perfect training or some, really difficult training or time-consuming training. So these 3 weeks we got between Thanksgiving and Christmas are really going to kind of be the make or break for your off season and really get you in a good prime position coming off of New Year and getting ready for race-specific training. Usually my plans for a 70.3 are about 5 months long for race-specific training. And I've got complementary, or that complement those race training plans. I've got off-season plans for beginners, for intermediates, for advanced athletes, and that type of thing to really sharpen that pencil to get you ready to get your FTP, your thresholds, and everything as high as you can get them, as safe as you can get them, and as high as you can get them, to make sure that you're ready to hit that race-specific training plan to stretch out the FTP. You try to get it to 200, 250, or whatever, and really kind of carry that out. And once you get into your race-specific plan, you're stretching that out over longer periods of time. So hopefully you can carry that fitness into your race-specific plan, because the last thing you want to do is go into the off-season, kind of hodgepodge it or whatever, and then basically start off worse than you were for the last time you went through the cycle of doing 70.3, or this is going to be your first 70.3, really putting you in a prime position to come through and be able to hit the ground running doing your training when you're looking at the race specific, instead of feeling like you're behind the 8 ball trying to catch up all the time, trying to get that training done, just worrying that you're not trained up enough for your race. So I say all that to go back to, I highly recommend you make sure you have an off-season training plan. We're only 27 weeks out. I say only 27 weeks out from 70.3 Des Moines. So if this is your first, you really should be on some sort of structure plan. If this is your second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever, and really looking to get faster, do better, feel more comfortable, this is the time to be doing that work as well. So I make these videos to kind of get you guys ready for that event and looking at where you are in time. So again, 27 weeks out, 20 weeks is kind of my general length of time for a 70.3 training plan. So getting into my 20-week off-season programs, you're looking about week 13, week 14. And you see in the background is kind of an example of one of my training plans for off-season. This is for an intermediate athlete, so you might be looking at the totals. You can't see them here. Let me adjust this window real quick right here. A little behind the scenes there. So what you can see is, I'll try to shrink it so you can see the beginning of the week as well. So bear with me while we do some live changes. And unfortunately, that kind of changes my aspect ratio for my video, but we can all live with that, right? So you can see that full week, week 13. You look over here to the side where I got my mouse going. And what we got here is total duration for the week is about 13 and a half hours. Some of you might be like, well, that's how much I do in peak training for 70.3. Like I said, this is for intermediate athletes, so by no means do you guys need to feel obligated that you need to be hitting 13 hours a week right now. For me, and what I've done, and doing triathlon since 2008 and doing halves since 2015-ish, something like that. No, 2008, 2007? No, it's been a while. Well, I've done 16, 17 half Ironmans. I've done 14 full Ironmans. So at this point in time, I kind of understand where I'm at, and I'm able to withstand that kind of training volume in an off-season program. So looking at it, you might be thinking, holy cow, 4x10s at 90% of the threshold, and I'm doing threshold runs, 4 sets of threshold runs, and then a 2-hour bike ride and 10-mile run. If this is going to be your first 70.3, this is definitely not the plan for you. I've got beginner off-season plan. So if that's something you want to look into, you have questions for, definitely direct you in that right path. But if you're an intermediate athlete to advanced athlete, maybe you've done a couple 70.3s, you've done, maybe you're a distance runner and you've got that fitness built up and you're able to tolerate that kind of training load at this time, and you have the time for it as well. Hey, this is where you kind of want to be at in order to make sure that you're capitalizing on your off-season program to set yourself up for the regular season training plan. So in general, looking about like 10 mile long run, a 2-hour bike ride. And right now at this point in time, it snowed here in Kansas City last week. I'm definitely doing most of my training indoors. Running the dogs outside is about all I do outdoors right now. And, I have to go to the gym to swim. I have a neighborhood pool that has lap lanes in it, but they are closed because it is definitely not warm enough to be outside, and it's not a heated pool, unfortunately. So you look at this plan, I'm only getting about 2 swims a week because that's just kind of what my schedule allows as far as driving across town and getting to the pool, taking that chunk of time out of my day. But I am getting in my 8-mile runs usually. I do some threshold work. I'm not, this isn't going to be make or break if I don't hit every workout exactly, but I definitely know that this may not get me to my fitness levels of where I want to be if I'm not doing a program exactly how it's prescribed, but I'm getting it done as much as I can. So definitely between Thanksgiving and Christmas and that time frame, you got 2 to 3 weeks here to really to maximize your off season as much as possible. Because as you see at this plan, you got the build week, we have transition week, and then I have a test week built in. Some off-season plans, I have a test week, and Triathlon's really good about this too. So you work on that fitness, you get your FTP up, and you get your thresholds up, you get your swim pace up, but you don't know exactly how much, so you got to go back and you got to do some fitness tests and make sure that you're keeping those zones accurate. So if you don't update your zones, and hopefully you're making progress. If you're not, you go back and look at your plan and see what's going on. But you need to update your zones so when you start the next round of builds, you're getting in additional fitness and you're capitalizing on that, hopefully raising your FTP to a higher point to start this training season for next season higher than where you started last season. So that's why I like to be as a progression of as an athlete. Year over year, you're progressing, you're getting more fitness. The first couple years, you're going to see substantial gains in fitness, but as you mature and you do more and more seasons, it's going to be a little bit more incremental fitness gains. But if you don't keep on a good schedule, I don't say, and I'm not going to tell people that you have to be very, super hardcore regimented and you have to hit every workout exactly. But if you're not doing things to work that fitness up over the off season, you're going to be kind of where you started at the year before, or you could be a little bit lower and do a lot of work in order to get to a better place than you were for the race before last year, if that makes sense. So a lot of people I coach, they do that first 70.3, and the next time they're like, oh, I want to shave off time. I want to do better my full Ironman. I want to shave off an hour of my run or something like that. This is how you get it done. You don't just do a race and then kind of take some, a couple months off and just kind of hodgepodge stuff and then cycle back into the next training plan for the next race. In the off season, you need to be working on this stuff, and that will perpetuate your fitness getting better over time and help you get ready for that race specific training, because the race specific, you're elongating the workouts and you're spreading that FTP hopefully over time, but you're also working on the course. It could be hilly, could be flat, could be windy, spending a lot of time in aero position. You're getting ready for the climate. If you're doing Texas in April and a place like I do in Kansas City, where it's going to be pretty cold all winter, but you get down to Houston and it's going to be super humid and in the 80s. You need to be able to withstand that by adjusting your training plan accordingly, either doing warmer workouts, putting a heater in the basement or something like that with working outdoors, or if you need to cycle in like a training camp or something like that, kind of going to warmer weather conditions. I know for Team Zoot, they had a Kona training camp. I'd love to do in March, but I'm not going to do that. But I'm just saying there's opportunities there, and if you don't have a structured plan to get you there, it's going to be difficult to capitalize on all that and have a good or better race day than you had the year before, if that makes sense. But like I said, this is just kind of an overall general 27 weeks out, 70.3 Des Moines, 2025. Where should you be at? What should your plan look like? Like I said, if you're an intermediate to advanced athlete, about 13 and a half hours a week. This is kind of the breakdown. Maybe if you're a beginner, it's like 9 to 10 hours. Instead of doing an hour 20 bike ride on Thursday, you're doing an hour. Instead of a 2-hour bike ride on Saturday, you're doing an hour and a half, hour 15. Maybe you're doing an 7 mile run on Sunday instead of a 10 mile So take it with a grain of salt. You know, you're not doing an hour brick run with your 2-hour bike ride if you're a beginner athlete, if you're getting ready for your first 70.3. Obviously, this is going to be a little bit more reduced, probably. And if you need help with that, I can help you with that. Let me know. I can give you directions to the proper, appropriate plans. So don't see this and be like, oh my gosh, 13 and a half hours. What am I doing with my life? No. 13 and a half hours, and then you run into a transition week, you do 10 hours, and then a testing week, you do 9 hours. So this is kind of going through a build phase, and you're into this last build here, week 13 after Thanksgiving. You're getting that last bit of build. You're kind of overloading, but not as much as you would in peak training. And then you do a transition. Do you test to make sure that fitness gain is happening like you want to? So hopefully this makes sense. Like I said, if you're watching this video and you got questions, put in the comments of the video wherever you're seeing it, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, wherever I post these things. I'll always check back on comments and kind of answer any questions you guys might have to make sure that you guys are on the right direction, right path to having a great day out at 70.3 Des Moines in 2025. Or if you're watching this later for other races later on down the years, you know, maybe you're doing Des Moines in 2030 and 70.3 Des Moines. You want to be ready for that. Maybe you're watching this video after that. So hopefully this helps you out. If not, ask me questions. I'm always here to help you out. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video, and we're going to dive into, when we get to a little bit closer on down the road, a few weeks later, dive into where you should kind of be at, what you should be thinking as far as the holiday is concerned, and then jumping around on the other side of New Year's, what you should be looking at and getting ready for that race season, and really kind of, you know, cross the T's, dotting the I's, and really getting ready for race season. So with that, we're going to close the video. Hopefully it helped you out. Good luck out there, good training, and happy holidays.